Seth Meyers. This is Late Night. We hope you're doing well. And now, if you don't mind, we're going to get to the news. First Lady Melania Trump announced last week that she will add a beehive to the White House honey program. And oh no, he found it. President Trump yesterday welcomed Britain's King Charles as he kicked off his state visit in honor of America's 250th anniversary, as well as the 280th anniversary of their hands. Sorry, just know when I start the next joke, the picture changes. Sunday was First Lady Melania Trump's 56th birthday, and President Trump did not acknowledge the day on any of his personal social media accounts. Look, it was a crazy weekend. I'd be willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that he was too busy if he hadn't found time to congratulate Lee Greenwood on the birth of his grandchild. That's right, President Trump congratulated God Bless the USA singer Lee Greenwood in a post over the weekend on Truth Social on the birth of his first grandchild 10 days ago. And apparently the baby is already sick of that song. The pizza chain Little Caesars has partnered with the company Flytrex to offer drone delivery. And in a related story, Iran just surrendered. They would have been fine. They would have pizza if it was just pizza. But the fact that it was pizza. A Missouri man was recently charged with sexual misconduct after he allegedly danced naked in the vestibule of an Aldi store. Or more likely, he was just stripping to raise money for groceries. The airline Emirates is reportedly developing first-class suites with private bathrooms. So if you've ever wanted a seat that reclines all the way, movies on demand in your own bathroom, have you ever considered just staying home? That's right, the airline Emirates is reportedly developing first-class suites with private bathrooms, while Spirit has introduced an empty Gatorade bottle. Yesterday was Marine Mammal Rescue Day, but it's like I always say, who rescued who? You know what the hardest part about being a late night talk show host is? Just knowing gonna do you dirty in the picture. The music streaming platform Spotify announced last week that its most streamed album of all time, with more than 20 billion streams, is Bad Bunny's Un Verano Sin Ti. And if you're wondering what that translates to, about 38 cents. Everything got slowed down because you all wanted to tell me how much you like Bad Bunny. And finally, Wendy's. Okay. Because internally they're like, you know, we're the Bad Bunny of fast food places. Finally, Wendy's began offering its spring menu yesterday, including a watermelon sparkling energy, which gives a bubbly energy boost. And then, to bring it back down, the Big Bacon Classic Triple. And that was a monologue, everybody. We got a show for you tonight. You know her from hits like The Bear and Big Mouth. Films such as After the Hunt Bottom. She's starring on Broadway in Proof, now playing at the Booth Theater here in New York City. Iowa Devery is back on the show, everybody. You've seen him. Shows like The Americans, The Beast in Me. She's currently starring in Widow's Bay. It's fantastic. It premieres April 29th on Apple TV. Matthew Rhys is back on the show. She is founder of Spring Cafe and Spring Cafe Aspen. Her new cookbook, Healthy with a Side of Happy, is out today. Here to make some serious burritos, Sabrina Rudin is also joining us. Andy Serkis joined us on Family Trips. A fantastic conversation. Do give that a listen. I don't have to tell you guys, these days the news stinks. Every headline I see makes me feel worse than the last. But every once in a while, there's a story that makes me feel great. I'd like to share one now in a segment called The Kind of Story We Need Right Now. Everywhere you turn, there's an article telling you that we're in the middle of a health crisis. 47% of adults have high blood pressure. 50% of adults are obese. The Secretary of Health and Human Services looks like a walnut with googly eyes. But what can we do about it? You can go for a run, or you can lift weights, or you can do what a bunch of people in England did recently, and you can go for a run while lifting a weight, and that weight is your wife you are carrying. Where can you do that? At a wife-carrying race. That's right. This is a wife-carrying race, and it was held recently in Surrey, England, and if you're worried that wife and carrying means something else in British slang, don't. Because it is exactly what you think it is. It is a real thing, and it is the kind of story we need right now. Why? Because finally, someone made running interesting. Regular runners talk about, they talk about dumb like heart rates and negative splits. Not these guys. They're thinking, if I lose my grip on my wife's ankles and drop her, I bet it's gonna be a whole thing. Normal runners are fueled by, those little gel packs. These guys are fueled by the knowledge that if they drop their wives, they'll never win another argument as long as they live. So that's it, you're thinking? They just pick up their wives and run around what? A track a couple of times? Of course not. A track would be way too easy. They run a cross-country obstacle course with their wives on their backs. These men run up and down hills. They jump over hay bales. They even have buckets of water thrown at them. This is the kind of story we need right now. Couples face obstacles. Yeah, give it up to these lunatics. Couples face obstacles all the time, but most of those obstacles are boring, like financial stress or infidelity. These obstacles are fun. Also, once you've made it through these obstacles together, every other obstacle will seem easy. If your wife says, we're gonna be late on the mortgage payment this month, you can say, well, that's tough, but not as tough as the time I carried you upside down through a meadow while getting pelted with ice water. Now, you may be thinking this sounds like total chaos, but it's not, because like any race, wife carrying is governed by a strict set of rules, extremely normal rules that I'm about to tell you. And all of these are completely real. Like rule number 1, wives must weigh in. Rule number 2, all wives must wear a helmet. And rule number 3, you don't have to carry your own wife. Oh, what's that? Did a few husbands' ears perk up? Did a few gentlemen who had tuned out due to not wanting to carry their wife suddenly re-engage with the proposition? Oh, I wouldn't mind carrying another man's wife. It's not adultery, it's cardio. But the most important rule at the wife-carrying race is that you have to carry a wife using one of the official recognized holds. These include the fireman's carry, classic, masculine, the bridal carry for your more romantic wife carrier, the dorking hold, which I assume is when you carry an invisible wife because no real woman would marry you, you dork. And of course, the most popular hold, the one used by all the winners, is the Estonian hold. Look at the Estonian hold. Not only is that an unappealing position for two humans, it also makes you reconsider your trip to Estonia. We don't have Uber in Tallinn, but Hugo here can get your wife to hotel. You will walk. You will walk. It's also an unappealing name. Estonian hold sounds like a euphemism for a very cold hug. How'd your date go? Not great. She gave me the old Estonian hold. That looks like an incredibly vulnerable and awkward way for a woman to be carried through an obstacle course. Can you imagine if they also got interviewed by reporters in that position? Oh, what's that? They did.
How comfortable is that for you?
Super comfortable.
And what's it like, your view from down there?
Interesting.
So what's it like down there? Is it comfortable?
Not at all.
Those women are really in love, and you know that because there's no other way they'd put their noses that close to a man's butt. So after all this hard work, after the running, the jumping, the buckets of water, what do the winners of the wife-carrying race get? A ribbon, a trophy? No. They get something way more practical. A barrel of ale! This is the kind of story we need right now. What better way to celebrate your victory and also forget that you just paraded your wife, or another man's wife, ass up in front of all your neighbors. Normally, when people run a race, all they get is a crappy foil blanket or a shirt with a disease on it. Not these people. These people can get a prize they can actually use. And in the case of this woman, one they have truly earned. Looks like someone finished the race in 69th place. Marriage can be hard. And after years together, couples can fall into a rut. The wife carrying race may be silly, but it's also an opportunity for couples to break out of their routine and have a unique experience together. It's inspiring. It's uplifting. It's, what's the word I'm looking for?
Interesting.
That's it. This has been the kind of story we need right now. We'll be right back with Ayo and Debris.